All right. Hello. I see the first people are joining. Um. Hello. Yes. Let's go. Good. Let's see what's happening. Let's see people joining. Um. This is gonna be an interesting one. I'm not sure how many people are gonna be here today because um, Thanksgiving, Black Friday, um, holiday preps and all that stuff. It is Friday, usually. Um, Hello, everyone. Usually we do these on Thursdays so that we're not as tired, and people usually go out on Friday nights. But um, you know, we have to move it. It is what it is. We are here the day after Thanksgiving. Um, and are ready. I thought my calendar was broken last night. No, it just we decided to push the stream one day forward because of Thanksgiving. Okay, more people are joining in. I am a simple person. I see OPR live stream. I join OPR live stream. Thank you very much. Um, oh yeah, now it's starting to get. Now it's starting to get full. I'm not sure that we're gonna get as many people as usual today because, like I said, all the reasons from before. But yeah, this is basically our last regular live stream of the year because, like, next month I'm gonna do the last live stream of the year, and usually during the last live stream of the year, we kind of like instead of talking about what's happening right now, usually we focus more on like we kind of do like a recap of what happened last year, well, what happened this year, and then we kind of like project forward and look at what's coming in the next year. I think that one is gonna be a big stream because um, a lot of things have happened this year. A lot of things have come out this year. Um, I Yeah, like it's weird, like the pace that we've gotten to, like releasing stuff. I think people are just like, oh yeah, this is how OPR does things. And people don't realize that like 1 year ago we were nowhere near the pace that we're at right now with like releasing two short stories with missions every month, releasing quest with heroes every month with a campaign every month, now star quest with heroes with a campaign, doing narrative campaigns, doing mission packs, doing world books. Now we're gonna be doing a faction book. We ran the Worlds Beyond. We are doing physical. We went to a bunch of conventions. Like, yeah, it's crazy the amount of things that we're doing now. Anyway, thank you. Yes, I also think we did a great job this year. All right, yeah, I a little bit of a warning. I have noticed that this presentation has way more slides than usual. In part of it is because I have some topics where I want to like go through multiple slides, but it may or may not be that this stream might be a little longer than usual. I will try and speed through things, but it may be what it may be. All right, I am going to start. I see more and more people are joining, so let me get to the actual stream. All right, let's start with the first thing, which is Christmas digital sale. So we have a Christmas slash holiday slash whatever you want to call it sale going on right now. This is for digital stuff, so you can get a 50% discount on everything we have on My Mini Factory, or if you're a patron, you can get a 70% discount, which big discount. The sale ends on the 3rd of December, so if you want to grab anything and everything from OPR, now is the time to do it. We've actually spoken to My Mini Factory because we keep getting the request from people saying like, hey, can I just get like a buy the whole store button? And apparently they're actually like finally actually working on it. So this is going to be interesting once we have the buy all button, but it's not happening yet. So just so you know. Anyway, so if you want to buy a bunch of stuff, 50% off on My Mini Factory, or if you're a patron, 70% off. Yeah, we hope this is a good deal. Now, I'm gonna be honest. It's kind of I'm gonna say normal that we're doing winter sales for digital stuff. So let's move on to the next slide because this year, finally, as we are doing more and more physical stuff, we actually have a physical Christmas sale going on. So the sale goes until December 5th. So if you are an OPR fan, but you don't have a 3D printer and you want to get stuff physically, we have a bunch of stuff for you. So we have a bunch of different bundles. These are all going to be available until the 5th of December. After that, things are going to be sold. The things that you see here are going to keep being sold, but not in bundles. So the price is going to be higher because it's not bundled, whatever. Anyway, now you can get the bundles for physical stuff. So let's go through the bundles one by one. So first off, there is the fantasy bundle. If you're a fantasy fan, this is for you. What's inside the fantasy bundle? So it's you're gonna get the King's Wrath 2-player starter set. What does this include? It includes a special version of the rules for Age of Fantasy Skirmish, adapted to be like a quick play set of rules. It has special stats so that it is a fully out of the box experience. Like, this is a box. Even if you decide to be like, hey, like, I just want this, for once, and like, I don't want to keep playing Age of Fantasy Skirmish. I just want to try something out, and almost use it as a board game. This is it. Like, this is actually like a fully self-contained product. So you can play it forever, just out of the box, which I think is pretty cool. And then, so instead, you get the rules in there, you get the stats in there. You also get 10 minis. You get 5 mummified undead minis. So you're gonna get a king, you're gonna get a herald, you're gonna get 3 warriors, and then you're also going to get some Saurian models. You're gonna get a veteran, you're gonna get a gecko chief, and you're gonna get 3 geckos with blowpipes. On top of that, you're going to get a bunch of tokens. I think you get a sheet of 63 tokens, and then you also get a set of dice, and I think this is 16 dice. The miniatures are in Siocast, by the way, which is like really nice. And this is the same set that we had at Spiel. So if you missed it at Spiel and you're really excited to get it, now you can get it. And actually, just like last time, I can show you a little video. Here in the main box. Inside of it, you have a box with the actual contents. You have the 5 minis from, I think that was Mummified Undead. You have the bases. You have the Saurians. You have a little like promo leaflet, the rules, and in the back of it you have the stats, and then you also have tokens. That's it. That's everything in the box. Yeah, we had this on display at Spiel. People were really excited about it, and we were really excited about it. So yeah, the fantasy bundle basically gets you the box plus the dice at a discounted price. So if you are a fantasy fan, this is definitely for you. But what if you're not a fantasy fan? Well, in that case, we have a new set. This is the Grimdark bundle, and this is now a new. So the fantasy version is called King's Wrath. We have a new box called The Last Stand. The Last Stand is a 2-player starter set, this time for Firefight. And it's the same setup. You get self-contained rules, you get the stats, you get 10 minis, you get alien hives, you get 3 assault grunts, you get a soul snatcher, and you get a hive warrior. And then on the human defense force side, you get 3 riflemen, you get a company leader, and you get a what is it called? You get it's not a sergeant, it's an enforcer. You get an enforcer, and on top of that, again, you get like the bases, you get the dice, and you get the tokens. So if you're into Grimdark and you want to give it a shot, this is a neat little box to grab and have a nice intro to Grimdark Future Firefight, and then from there you can expand to the bigger games. Now, what if you're a fan of both fantasy and sci-fi? Well, in that case, you can get the Gamer Bundle. The Gamer Bundle is basically both. So you get the King's Wrath set, you get the Last Stand set, you get all of the rules and the stats, you get all of the minis, you get now you're going to get double the amount of tokens because each set has its own set of tokens. So that's like 126 or so tokens. The 10 minis, like I said, and you get 16 OPR dice. Oh yeah, I don't know if I mentioned these are OPR dice, so they have like the little one page rules logo on them. Yeah, they're really cute. They come in like a little box. I actually have some around, but not here. Whatever, they're nice dice. And actually, the people were very happy with our dice at Spiel. So more dice for you. Then, what if you are into things that are beyond just games? Well, then we have the merch bundle for you. The merch bundle includes a bunch of stuff. It includes the Grimdark Future World Book in physical print, so you don't have to get it as a digital PDF anymore. You can actually get the physical version. It includes an OPR set of brushes. This is 8 high quality brushes. I don't remember exactly which brushes are which, but I should be able to actually get you that info right now. Hold on, give me a second. I can get you that info. So it's so the high quality brushes. You get 5 wolf bristle brushes. You get 2 Teclon dry brushes, and you get a Kolinsky sable detail brush as well. So you get 8 high quality brushes. You get also the world book, like I said before. You also get 2 sheets of tokens, so that's 126 tokens for you. And on top of that, you also get a set of dice. So if you already have, if you're a 3D printing guy or girl, and you don't need the starter sets, then but you want all the rest of the OPR stuff, well then here you can get yourself the merch bundle. Then finally we have the ultimate bundle. So do you want everything? Do you want it all? Then well, you have the ultimate bundle, and here you get everything. You get the world book. You get the brushes. You get the 2 boxes with all the minis, with all the tokens, and you also get the dice. So yeah, that's the OPR special holiday bundles for physical. They're available until December 5th. So make sure to grab them now. Yeah, one thing, unfortunately, we cannot guarantee due to how things go with shipping and stuff and production. We cannot guarantee that you're gonna have them, in hand before December 24th, 25th. So we are hoping that we can get them to you ASAP. But we don't know. We don't know. We hope for the best. We hope that you can put them under the Christmas tree. But if you can't, well, you're gonna have them for, um, you know, New Year's or whatever for the next celebration that you can have them for. The plan is that after this, all of this stuff is slowly also going to be available for purchase directly from our Etsy store without being in a bundle. So if you want to grab the starter sets or whatever, you can grab them. Actually, if you are a friendly local game store, or if you know a game store that might be interested in carrying OPR stuff, tell them to contact us. We actually have a post on like a news post on our website where we have a little survey for merchants that they can and for stores and shops and whatever that they can fill. Else they can contact us info@onepagerules.com and let us know, like, hey, do you want to buy 5 sets, 10 sets, whatever, for your store to sell? Let us know. We can make you a special price. And yeah, we're trying to make sure that we can get these in the hands of people beyond the people that just know us already. Like, if we can get these in stores, that would be great. So yeah, if you own a store or know a store that might be interested, let them know that we do physical now, and they can contact us to carry these products. All right, good. We can move on from the sale. I think I told you everything. Yes. Oh, I saw somebody asking here, is there a fantasy lore book in print? Unfortunately, not yet. We were trying to get it all ready and set up for the holiday bundles and the holiday sale, but it just didn't line up. So you all have to wait a little bit longer to get the fantasy world book in physical format. All right, let's move on to the next thing. So, Edge of the Radiance. So, we ran a campaign last month for Edge of the Radiance. This is our latest entry in the. Well, it's our latest. Well, it's the first entry in the um, Gateway Saga. The Gateway Saga is basically the current ongoing story of Grimdark Future. So, as most people know, Grimdark Future is a setting. It happens in the Sirius sector. There's much more to it, of course. There's the zone. There's all of the factions warring, and then there's things beyond that, whatever. And that's the lore as a whole. That's the setting. That's what the world book, for example, tells you about. But there is an actual story that's happening within the Grimdark Future Universe, and that's what we're calling right now the Gateway Saga. So Edge of the Radiance is the book that kicks off the Gateway Saga, and we released it last month on Frontiers, and now it is available on to buy if you missed the Frontiers. So what do you get? You get the narrative campaign. It's 5 chapters, epilogue, prologue, and whatever of story, and with it you also get 10 missions to play, and on top of that you also get minis. You also have the heroes of the Edge of the Radiance that are available for purchase. So you have Captain Liao, our Eternal Dynasty, one of the Eternal Dynasty main characters, and Sergeant Wu, his let's say his sidekick. I don't know that she's a sidekick. They're both on equal footing, really. Just that she's younger and less experienced and a little bit eager. And then you also get their Alien Hives opponents. So you get Druzak or Druzak, which is like a big Alien Hive's Prime Warrior with his massive sword. And then you also get the villainous Vrades, who is a Soul Snatcher Lord with good intentions, let's put it that way. So yeah, Edge of the Radiance. If you're interested in the ongoing Grimdark Future saga, or you play any of these factions, or you just want to try something new, check it out now. It's available. Then, speaking of narrative campaigns, we have Out of the Shadows. So, Out of the Shadows, when we started releasing Age of Fantasy Quest 5-6 months ago, we released it with the Out of the Shadows narrative campaign on Patreon. So, every month, subscribers got an additional chapter of a narrative campaign for Quest that you and your party can play, level up through, and play a bunch of really cool missions. And yeah, now the campaign is over, and it is now finally available for purchase directly on DriveThruRPG. You can go grab it. Basically, just you get it all at once. You don't have to wait to get it chapter by chapter now. You get the whole campaign. It's this one is 5 chapters, 10 missions. It comes with a villain. It comes with really cool missions. I actually really enjoy the regular narrative campaigns for the big games are very cool because you're reading the story and then you have these missions and it feels like an action movie. What I really like about the narrative campaigns for the quest games is that they feel much more like an RPG because as you're reading the story, you get to have little gameplay moments and little choices and stuff like that whilst you're still in the story bit. And then you go into the mission, and then there's even more story and gameplay that's combining, which is very cool. Honestly, people have been asking me oh, is there going to be an advanced rulebook for Quest and Star Quest? There no plans for an advanced rulebook. Honestly, I don't even know what will be in there because for us the focus really is on the narrative campaign. The basic gameplay of Quest, just playing the basic campaign generator it's okay. It's good to get you started. It's a good way for you to maybe create your own custom campaigns. But we think that the real deal of the game is happening in the narrative campaign. So you should definitely make sure to check it out. This campaign is against the Shadow Stalkers. If you don't have Shadow Stalkers, you can still play using whatever other miniatures you have. So just replace the Shadow Stalkers with Vampiric Undead or whatever else you might have. And enjoy it. But yeah, so the campaign is now available on DriveThruRPG, and there is also the villain, which is Omoshu and Kotitz, which are now available also for purchase. These are narrative campaign heroes. They can be used in Quest as villains, but you can also use them as heroes. You can also use them in Age of Fantasy Skirmish. You can use them in regular Age of Fantasy. These are full-fledged narrative campaign heroes that you can use, like narrative characters, heroes, whatever, that you can use in your regular game. So, you don't have to just be limited by having them in quests. And actually, again, one of those things that I really like about OPR is like the cross compatibility of everything. So you can play a quest against Emotion Codex, and then you go play a skirmish game where now they're your heroes and you're playing with them, or you have them then join a huge massive battle. Maybe you even bring them into regiments and now they're part of like this massive battle. And where before like they were like the only really big badass on the battlefield, now they're amongst like these huge armies, and they can show off what they got against big masses of infantry. All right, so that is the Out of the Shadows. So if Out of the Shadows is done, what comes next for quest? Well, we have Heart of the Rot. So Heart of the Rot is the new narrative campaign that is now being released on Patreon. It's going to be released month by month in conjunction with the release of the Wood Elves. So this is going to be a 6 to 7 month release, something like that. So it's going to be quite a long campaign. Each month, you're going to get the narrative with 2 missions, and it's always made to go in line with whatever miniatures are there this month. The campaign was literally released today, so you can go grab it now. What is Heart of the Rot about? Usually, I don't like to talk too much about narrative in here because I don't like to spoil too much. But let's say your adventuring party is involved in a plot. Is involved in a plot that features a lot of rot. Basically, the Heartwood, which is like the place where the Wood Elves are from, is being infested by a mysterious rot. And there is a central character, Irana, which you can see her in the cover art here, and she's actually the main villain. She's involved with this whole thing, and you're basically going there to investigate and see what can you do, how can you help, and restore the Heartwood. Very cool. I also have to say, like, I really, really like all the narrative campaigns because they bring together the OPR lore, and like they show you the lore in a way. I feel like the quest campaigns show you the lore in a detailed way that the bigger narrative campaigns can't do quite the same way. It's just a different level of granularity, right? Anyway, so Heart of the Rot, you can grab her right now. There is a cool model. She is a spell weaver from the Wood Elves. Again, you play against her. Yeah, she's all like burnt and rotten on the side, and actually she's a spell weaver without the big owl mask, which is very cool, makes her quite unique. And yeah, again, like you can play her as a villain, you can play her as a hero if you wanted to. Well, maybe not for the campaign, right? But you can play her as a villain, or you can play her as a character for your games of skirmish or your games of fantasy or regiments or whatever. So yeah, that's cool. That's Heart of the Rot. I'm gonna try and move on. Oh my god, I see like we still have a million slides and we are still so early in the stream. All right, so that's Heart of the Rot. This is all fantasy quest. What about sci-fi? Well, for sci-fi, we have Into the Frontier. Into the Frontier is the narrative campaign for Grimdark Future Star Quest. This campaign comes this campaign features your main bad guy, which is Colonel Rickson, and he is a corrupt colonel from the HDF. And you're basically the campaign, again, I'm trying not to spoil too many things, but basically the campaign revolves around you are approached by this funny little robot who has a mission for you, where basically you're trying to go after this infamous adventurer who supposedly knows where riches are, and you can find riches as well if you find her. But Colonel Rickson is also after her, and then now he's after you, and then it's a whole messy story. It's really funny, actually. I really like it. There's a lot of humor in Into the Frontier, which I appreciate. It's a little bit less serious than usual. And it also comes with a cool mini, which is the mini for Colonel Rickson, which I think is really badass. And actually, so I have a little announcement, I guess. People have been pending the release of the Grimdark Future Star Quest narrative, not narrative, sorry, hero characters, the STLs, the minis. And actually today, after the stream, we are actually going to finally release the 4 initial characters. These are going to be available in the welcome pack. I am so sorry. This came in at really the last moment, so I don't actually even have pictures for you. But you can imagine what are you gonna get? So you're gonna get an HDF infiltrator, so a human infiltrator. No, sorry, a human pathfinder. That's basically a sniper. It's kind of like a ranger, snipey guy. You are going to get a gecko psychic, which is basically like a gecko wizard. You are going to get a Blessed Sisters soldier. Soldiers are like your fighters, so they're your strong combative characters, and you're also going to get a high elf guardian, which you can imagine is kind of like a cleric, so like has a cool shield and like can protect and defend um, his party. And yeah, that's it. So we finally are gonna have the characters, you have the villain, and you have everything you need to start battling in space. All right, with that, we have spoken about Quest, Bunch, and Star Quest. So let's move on to the next big thing, which is ta-da, the Duchies of Vinci faction book. So tying in with all this lore talk, Edge of the Radiance lore and Out of the Shadows, Heart of the Rot, Into the Frontier. Let's talk about the next big thing in OPR lore, which is the Duchies of Vinci faction book. So what is a faction book? This is the first time that we are actually releasing a something like this. The Duchess of Vinci faction book is coming out in December. I want to just already throw it out there, so it's really close. A faction book is basically think of it as a faction codex, but without the rules. It's focusing only on the lore of the faction. So you are going to get a bunch of stuff in this book. It's probably one of the biggest books we've ever made. I think it's around 90 pages long. It has a bunch of lore. It is if you read the Age of Fantasy World book and you thought, okay, this is cool. I know about the world, but like I want to know things. I want to know more details about the factions. Like, give me the factions. Well, this is the book that you want because the book really goes through a lot of stuff. So this is part of the cover art that you can see. I'm gonna kind of scroll through and see if I can remember all the different parts of the book. So something that you're going to get is, well, first off, it's filled with art, which that was a lot of work, and I think it came out really cool. There's a lot of art. Lots of different talented artists have come together to make this happen. Lots of different styles coming together to showcase different things about the world, which is really cool. The book is the book is about the Duchies of Vinci. It covers basically a bunch of stuff that is new about the Duchies of Vinci, and it covers a bunch of stuff that you basically didn't know. So it talks about the origins of the Duchies of Vinci, like who were they at the beginning. As you know, for those that know, like the Duchies of Vinci were like basically these swamp dwellers, and they were like these peasants in this swampland of Vinci, and then basically they came there and they settled, and they were lower than everybody like from the empire and stuff like that. And they're kind of like little peasants. And then eventually, we talk about the history of like how they, when the rift was opened, basically Mind Stone is something that they discovered, which is this type of stone that gives you intelligence. Let's put it that way. And which they then use to basically drain the swamps, come out of their poverty and their misery, and become one of the most advanced and most rich and powerful factions in actually the whole world of Tyria. So yeah, you have an origin section which talks about all of the beginning, like how did they come to be, who was in the lands of Vinci before the Vinci. That's also something that we had never revealed before. Talks about Mindstone, talks about the Mindstone War, so what comes after Mindstone is discovered. It talks about the unification of Vinci, and a lot of stuff that comes with like a full map that shows you like all of Vinci with like different location. It has names of different cities, names of characters. It has everything you ever wanted and more. So that's the beginning of the book. One thing that you need to know is like as we develop the Vinci more and now finally get to talk about it more, Vinci basically is split into four major regions. You have on the left one, so these are like the stems, the symbols of the four regions, which are all based on mythical animals from the regions. On the left, you have Milfilumi, which is like the central richest region, which used to be the swamps. You have after it, you have the bird, which is and the Milfilumi symbol is a tortoise, actually a mythical tortoise that doesn't exist anymore, but supposedly was there at a time. Then you have the bird of Sabielli. Sabielli is like the southern, beachy, vibey part of Vinci. Then you have the north, where you have the bear, which is from the north, from Paratemi, when Paratemi is like the mountainous defended area of Vinci, and then you have the bull of Vulcolato, which is the eastern volcanic area of Vinci. And so we go really into the lore of each specific region and what that means and who they are and where they come from and all that stuff. It goes really deep. Which is very cool, and this is very Southern Europe, Italy, Spain, Greece inspired. So as an Italian or half Italian, I do find it very interesting, and it was a lot of fun to work on this. Yeah, and actually, yeah, you find out a lot about different things about Vinci. Like, do you know why Vinci is called Vinci? What does Vinci actually mean in their language? And this and much more you can find out in the book. Then we have a whole section. So we have a section talking about history and origins. Then we have a whole section talking about like key conflicts, where we cover like four major conflicts that Vinci was involved with, and that kind of like marked their history through time. Lots of cool art. We talk a lot about like who were the different forces that were involved, how did the battles go, what were the key turning points. So that was really cool. Then we have, like I said, a whole section talking about the different regions of Vinci, like what makes them special, what makes them different, what are their foods like, what is their architecture like, what is the daily life like in these places. We also talk about some of the key specific major duchies in each place. Here you can actually see architecture of four different locations. Then we have sections talking about, we have section talking about army, of course, but we also have like big sections talking about their culture. So we have a whole big part where we talk about like, who are they outside of war? What are their politics like? They don't really have a religion, but how is it? How are the inventors treated? How do the universities work? What do they do in their daily life? How do they entertain themselves? What is their currency like? We talk about every facet of Vinci life, which is very cool. And there we actually also end up talking about the Vinci language, which is also very interesting. You're gonna see like how Vinci write and what that looks like. There's like a whole table, basically like a name generator, where you can basically like generate your own Vinci names, and you can also like basically it gives you whatever, like everything you need, so that you can also create your own names and like start like your own duchy and your own heroes, and give them a proper Vinci name. It has a section talking about like common phrases, what do different words mean. It has a little section about insults. Like it's really fun. I'm really into languages. I speak 6 languages, so I'm really into like the intricacies of different languages. And this was also a very cool part of the book. Then we also have a whole section about, so like I said, we have a section about the armies and like how are the armies organized and what are the weapons like, their tech, how does it all work. And then we also have a full breakdown. We have 8 different forces that we go into, that we give you like as an example, like, hey, like here is the Decimo force, and like what are they like, what do they fight like, what are their colors and all that stuff. And so you have 8 in focus, and then you have an additional, I think, 9 where you get to see like their name and their colors. So that's like 15 different duchies, color schemes that you can use, plus the lore for them, plus their names. So if you're like, hey, I want to play Orteza, then now you know what their colors are like. Now you know their lore. Now you know how they fight and why they fight and which which units do they focus on, and so on and so forth. And then finally, at the end of the book, we have, I said finally, there's all stuff. At the end of the book, we have a whole section where we break apart the whole army unit by unit, and we give you lore for each individual unit army. So this is like already a bunch of pages where you're going through all the 30, 40 units where there is lore about everything. Like, did you want to know what the militia are like, and how do they fight, and why do they fight, and what are the Harlequins really, and how does the Titan work, and all this stuff. It's breaking down unit by unit. Yeah, there is so much more as well. There's like little sayings, little phrases. There is like little story snippets in there. There's short stories as part of the narrative. Like I said, a ton of art. There's also a lot of hidden references to other things. So if you're paying attention, you can start putting things together about the world beyond Vinci, and about also the oh my god, I forgot the name now. The Orphan Plane saga. So there's like a whole there's also like just the way we have like the Gateway saga for Grimdark. We have it's called the Reclamation Saga. Ooh, yes, the Reclamation Saga is the fantasy version of like the ongoing story that we have. So whatever, there's hints and bibs and bobs and all that stuff. So make sure to check it out. And so yeah, lots of lore for the faction. On top of that, of course, you're gonna get a chance to buy all of the minis for the army. You can buy the whole army with its titans, with its bases and game aids and all that stuff. But not only that, we also have 4 special heroes that are part of the book and that are going to be named characters for the Duchies of Vinci. You can see them here. And yeah, they're featured in the book. You can find out about a lot of lore of them. Here you can actually see like their different paint schemes. And then you're going to get minis for them. So you're going to get, I don't remember now all the names. Mambreco Viferrona. He is on his like mechanical bull. He is from Vulcolato. Then you have, I always forget her name. You have, I forget the sniper girl's name. Let me see if I can find out very quickly. The sniper girl is called Mantissa. She's a sniper from Paratemi, from the north, and she's like a really legendary sniper. And she has like all of these like trophies from different enemies she's taken down. And if you notice, there's a lot of things connected to the change demons. You'll read the book. Then you also get Zaretia. Zaretia is an alchemist from Sabieli, but she's upset. Let's put it that way. So she brought a gun. She's not just your regular caster. And then finally you get Gerepeto, who is from an inventor from Milfilumi who created a cool robot. Let's put it that way. And he has like a little sidekick. And he's a nice little reference as well. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I think that's it for the Duchies of Vinci faction book. It's coming in December. Keep your eyes peeled. There is a lot more coming. We are hoping that if all of this stuff is successful, and if all of this stuff is successful and people like it, that we can start doing more of it. My dream is that every year we could release, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 of these type of books, because there are so many OPR fans out there for so many different factions, and it's like you might think, I think sometimes like, oh my god, like if we release like 4 faction books per year, like that's a lot. Like, do people even care? And I'm like, okay, you have to think about it like that's 2 fantasy ones, 2 sci-fi ones, and then each one of those are for specific factions. So it's like, if you really don't care about Duchies of Vinci, this release is not for you. So this is also just for part of our audience. Whatever. We want to satisfy as many people as possible, so we're going to keep working on these books. If you like the idea, then please buy the book, talk about the book, rate it, share it so that we can know that we should keep doing these things. Woo! All right, so that was the Duchies of Vinci faction book. Let me move on. What is the next point? Oh my god, I'm already getting tired. Okay. All right, let me talk about this. This is a more generic point. Let me talk about game development progress. So, taking a sip of water. Stay hydrated. Cool art here. High Elf Fleets versus Robot Legions. Classic duel in Grimdark Future lore. The game dev progress. So, like we said, we are currently focused on doing, or we're currently decided that we're only going to be doing major rules updates for the core rules and so on once a year. Honestly, it's November, end of November now. This has been going pretty well. Right now, seeing the state of the game, I don't see any need for any major updates to the core rules. So, as far as I can tell so far, the plan to keep it going until September is it's on. We're gonna keep staying stable until September, unless something happens in a couple months that makes me think otherwise. I think this is gonna be it. So that's very good. I would like to do a very small units patch in December, maybe a couple weeks from now. It's gonna be something very small, just updating a handful of unit across the games. We've spotted some mistakes with some units that we would like to fix. Also, there is a small update that we need to do. Basically, we spotted a bug on the calculation. Basically, like there is some formulas of okay, there are some rules that activate the trigger on a roll of 6, and those should not stack with certain other rules that don't allow them to trigger on 6s, whatever. And basically, we want to fix that, but fixing that will mean that some point costs will change because the calculation will be changed because it will be fixed. And we didn't want to just drop it out there without anything, so we are going to probably do that as the December update. Yeah, it's gonna be honestly a tiny update, nothing that changes factions how they work completely. So I don't feel too worried about it becoming like a thing, because we said like we want to slow down also on the faction updates. So these are not actually like faction updates. These is just like, okay, there's this one individual unit where I'm like, okay, that guy should not have 6 attacks, it should have 5 attacks. And okay, this other unit has impact 4 and actually makes it go above Balval, and so it's broken, whatever. Anyway, so that's the part. So there might be a tiny patch coming in December. Otherwise, I have been focusing on a lot of game stuff and mission stuff. So, we had quests, we have Star Quests, we've been updating those, we've been working on those. Lots of missions for different narrative campaigns, short stories, we've been preparing lots of different stuff there, of course. Also, I have been working on some very small little additional game modes for Quest and Star Quest, which I may or may not release in beta form in 2025. Maybe I'll put them on Patreon at the beginning of the year. So if you're a fan of those games, you can look forward to some small little game modes that are additionally going to be added. Nothing major. But one of the things that I did want to talk about is the army retheming that is hopefully coming with the September patch. Why does this matter? So I want to talk about it not so much because I have a lot to say about the actual patch itself, but because I think that the awareness needs to be started now. Like, I know it's coming out in whatever it is, 10 months, 11 months, or whatever. But I think people need to start being aware that, hey, next September there's going to be a patch. It might very well be a major patch that might change how a lot of faction work, maybe substantially. So what is the army retheming patch? The army retheming patch is basically it starts on the foundation that we've been releasing OPR games and armies and whatever for many years, and over the years, things kind of the rules for all the armies have kind of gone a certain way, where now people feel that a lot of the armies, yeah, sure, they play a bit different, but they all feel a little bit the same. In part, it's because, there were a lot of faction specific rules. They're like, okay, only this army, like, whatever it was 8 years ago, only one army had undead. And then undead, like, we started having like 3, 4 undead armies. So more and more armies got the undead rule. And then we started like, okay, robots should also have the same rule as the undead. So now they had the same rule. And then, oh, there's robots in multiple. And so suddenly, like, an army unique rule started spreading through a bunch of armies. So it stopped being unique. And we had the same with a lot of, like, we had the same with a lot of other special rules, weapon rules, the radiation rule, right? It's on when you defend, when you roll to block and you roll a 1, you take 1 extra wound, right? It used to be fully only exclusive to the machine cult, and then slowly it spread as different rules throughout the factions. Anyway, whatever. So basically, what happened is people feel like, hey, the armies feel like they kind of feel samey. They don't feel very special. And so we are working on the retheming. Or I'm working on the retheming. So what is the retheming? Basically, it's I'm gonna take a pass at every army in the game. So it's a big job. And basically, on the one side, I'm gonna try to rebalance them. So definitely try to solve some of the issues that we have with unit efficiency. So, there are some units that have way too many special rules on them that they don't need in all cases. We have too many units that feel too much like hybrids. What is a hybrid unit? So it's a unit, for example, that has really good shooting and really good melee, which means you're paying a high price for both, but you don't get to do both in the game because you either charge or you shoot. And so now suddenly it's like half of the value of the unit is kind of wasted because it can only do one of the other. So that's a hybrid unit. So we want to minimize that, make the units more specialized, or allow you to customize them into a specialization so that you don't have like wasted points. But also we want to try and make sure that we differentiate the armies in terms of uniqueness beyond just like names of like what different things are called, but also like I would like to make it so that every army has at least like 1, 2, 3 special rules that only that army has, at least within its system. So like imagine there is a special rule that only the mummified undead have in fantasy and no other fantasy army has. Maybe we'll have the same rule be the same in sci-fi, but then it's different, right? It's 2 different systems. But so even then, think about it. It's like 25 plus armies per system, so it's 25 plus core rules. And so we want to basically add rules that are unique to the armies. I want to rework the spell list of the armies. I want to rework the mechanics of the armies. One thing that I've also noticed is that there is a lot of armies where units have far too many special rules. So I want to start cutting those special rules down and being like, okay, what is the core fundamental thing about army X? And then go from there. I'm trying to think about like a good example. An example maybe would be robot legions, where it's like, okay, robot legions have slow and they have self repair and they have the robot rule. So basically, every unit in the army already comes with like 3, or almost every unit in the army, maybe every unit in the army, whatever, comes with 3 special rules baked in, and that's a lot. And so the question then becomes like, which one of these 3 rules really is the most thematic, or should they have a special rule that's only for them that is more thematic, and like, can we cut down on other things? And yeah, it will change a bit how the army plays, but we want to make sure that we stick to like the core of what makes that army that army. There's lots of other things that I would like to do. One of the things that I definitely want to do is I want to decouple the how can I put this, the I want to decouple special rules names from their effect and their um, let's say the unit type they imply. Sorry, what I mean is right now, for example, you have the you have the undead rule, right? And then you have the robot rule. And so now the robot rule, basically every time you have a robot in the game, it feels like, well, it's a robot, so it should have the robot rule. So just from the get-go, it has that 1 extra rule. And why? Well, it's just because it's called robot. So if that rule was called, I think it's called like no retreat in some other armies. If the rule was called no retreat, well, then you wouldn't feel like every single robot in the entire game must have the robot rule. So you're decoupling like the theme of that rule, like the specificity of that rule's name from the actual effect. And now you can be free to make robots, for example, without the robot rule. Stuff like that. I would like to do that. Another thing that I'm thinking about doing, I'm not 100% sure about, is we know that there's a lot of shenanigans happening with people just renaming rules with the aliasing system so that they can stack them. Uh, and also, there's another thing that's happening, which is like you have a lot of rules in the game that they have different names because of the aliasing, which does make it more thematic on a per army basis. But it also means that now you have uh, two, three, four, five different versions of the same rule with a different name. So every time you're checking somebody's army, they tell you like, oh yeah, this unit has rule X, and you're like, what is rule X? Can you explain it to me? And they're like, oh yeah, it means this. And you're like, oh, okay, so it's the same as rule Y, whatever. And it's like if they both just had the same name, then you would immediately know like, hey, this army has rule X, and you're like, okay, I already know it because the name of the rule is the same across the whole army. So that's another thing that I'm thinking of doing, like flattening the changing of the names of the rules throughout the armies. Yeah, lots of different things like this. So what I'm saying is, potentially in about a year from now ish, whatever, 9 months, 10 months from now, your army is going to get some changes that may feel substantial. We are of course trying to always make it so that these changes are for the better, that things get better, that they don't get worse. We're not here to nerf your armies, we're not here to make them feel shitty, we're not here to make things worse. We're here to try and make the games more balanced, more enjoyable, and so on and so forth. But it may very well be that the changes that are coming in 9 to 10 months might be a little bit of a shock when they come. So we want to let you know now, like, be prepared, mentally prepare yourself that in 10 months, your armies are going to get updated and they might be a little bit different than what you're used to. So yeah, that's kind of like what I wanted to talk about now. And yeah, I'm gonna be having this exact conversation every month from now in every stream, because I hope that people watch the stream and they find out about it, and then they start spreading the word, and then people start being excited about these changes, because I think it's gonna be very exciting. I think it's gonna be very cool. I the desired outcome is that by the time these changes come out, everybody feels like their army is unique, more unique in a great way. And it feels like, okay, like robot legions are fighting high elf fleets and they feel different in a good way. We still want to maintain OPR simplicity. We're not looking to add a bunch of hyper complex rules to the game. We're just, nudging things. A good example that we have of an army that feels thematic is the DAO Union, or DAOU. Why? Because they have a simple, like, simply by just having a small rule such as the what is it called, the laser marker rule. It's just one small thematic rule that only they have, and that makes their army play a little bit different than the others. And people are like, okay, that's unique. That army has this one thing. It's their thing. And that makes them cool, and like people enjoy that little part. So you're not here. We're not here to create like crazy combo wombo things, and that you have to keep track of a million different things. And don't worry, I hate things that get too overly complicated that way, so I will not make that happen. All right, cool. So we've talked about games dev progress. Let's move on to woo. Whew, okay, so that was for studio updates, a bit longer than usual. Let's go and talk about the actual previews um, for the Patreon. All right, so let's talk about December. What are we getting in December? I'm gonna try and speed this up because I still see that I have like a lot of slides left. And we're already almost an hour into this. So okay, I'm gonna try and go a bit faster. So for the Wood Elves, you are going to get in December is basically the month of the Tree Men. So you're going to get oh god, I'm forgetting all the names now. The Tree Man Elder. The Tree Man Elder is basically your main Tree Man hero. He's a champion. He's a fighter. He has claws. He has like this big uh, a block of rock that he basically like rolls around, and he uses like a hammer, and he has like the special spike as well. So this is like your main fighty Wood Elf hero. Sorry, I'm getting rid of my thing here because it's too warm. My blankie. Then you are going to get the Spellweaver. Spellweaver? No, the Wraith, branch Wraith, right? Wraith, spell Wraith, tree Wraith, whatever. You're going to get the Wraith, which is basically your caster for the treeman. Oh yeah, there's one interesting differentiation that you can see here in the treeman, which is that the fighty ones have these skull masks, and um, the casting ones have the bear head. So here you can see that the Wraith has the face exposed. Then you're gonna get your main units of treemen. The treemen come with two variations. Number one, you have the fighty variation, which is with claws. 5 poses, cool claws. I really like them. And then you're going to get the magic variation. This is a completely new unit that was not in the game before, and this is your basically it's your ranged attack spell casting treatment, which have like little. They have these basically these like magical stones, crystals embedded in their arms, which are these kind of like vines, and with that they can like cast spells and like throw little balls of energy. Which is very cool. So this is a completely new unit in the game. Then you are also getting the Treeman Brutes. The Treeman Brutes are your big tough 3 Treeman unit. They also come with different variations. I think they come with claws, and they come also with these like big hammer fists. Like these like stone hammer fists. And I think that's about it. 3 different poses. Really cool. I think they look very badass. I love the chunkiness of them. And then you're also going to get the Treeman Giant. I had to cut the picture here. Imagine that there is a cool Treeman at the top. And yeah, the Treeman Giant comes with different variations as well. You have like a whip root thing. It has like a spell casting version. It has a big mace-like thing. And so yeah, that's the month of the Treeman. So you're gonna get 2 heroes, a main unit, a tough unit, and a giant as well. And the giant comes with a bunch of options. So that is the Wood Elves for December. Now let's move on to sci-fi. So HDF. So for the HDF, you are going to get the Commander. This is an older version, I think. So this is being updated. But anyway, you're going to get the Commander. The Commander is basically your, it's your commanding hero of the HDF. So the Commander, I think, has double time, which basically allows units to like move on command. And this is basically your command and control type hero. Then you're going to get another hero. No, wait. No, you're going to only get one hero, which is the Commander. Then you're going to get a unit, which is the unit of veterans. The veterans are really cool. We wanted to create these veterans that look like sort of like commandos. So they're like filled with gear. They have these backpacks filled with gear. They have like these harnesses filled with like pouches and ammo. They have like bandits everywhere. They're full of stuff. They have big beards and stuff like that. So the veterans are really cool. The veterans come with, I think they come with 8 poses, something like that. They come with like the 5 main poses. They come with a male version, female version. They come with helmet variants. They come with rifles. They come with special weapons. They come with, what else do they get? I think they get a medic. They get a banner, and they get a radio man as well. So lots of different stuff. And I really like that everybody has kind of different gear. And when you're going to see like their rifles, they're also all different. So they have like scopes on them and silencers and like flashlights and like all this different gear to show how badass and elite they are. So these are your veterans. Then you are going to get the ogres. So okay, I'm gonna throw this out there because I feel like this is a conversation that needs to be had. So the ogres, here you can see a very work in progress version of the ogres. The ogres are your tough 3 robot guys from the HDF. All right, the ogres are going to be delayed. I can tell you this already now because I am not satisfied with the way that they look. I think right now they look, well, at least in the state that you're seeing here in the screenshot, I don't think they look like what I wanted them to look like. And honestly, I'm gonna tell you that like lately, you may have noticed that we have been having some delays. And part of the reason we're having delays is because HDF is a lot harder to make than we, maybe not that we anticipated, but it's a lot harder to make than a fantasy faction. Making the wood elves is easy. Everything is organic. Sure, you're trying to come up with like cool designs and make cool shapes and whatever, but everything is organic. You have much more room to wiggle room there. Whereas when you're working with HDF, everything that is not just a humanoid is really tough. All the robots are tough, which means a lot of meetings, a lot of reworks, a lot of like, you make a tank. Oh, that's also a thing. Like, you make a tank, you think, oh, I'm just making a tank, but it's like, yeah, but you need to make the tank, which is the whole thing with the turret. That's the whole thing, and then the tank comes with like 7 different weapon options, which all need to look different, but all need to make sense. They all need to have a purpose, and it's like a whole thing. So it's a lot of work, and yeah, this faction is like, it has the APC, it has the tank, it has the battle tank, it has a heavy tank. It's gonna have the super heavy tank. It's gonna have the truck. It's gonna have the attack vehicle. It's gonna have the support vehicle. It's gonna have the light walker, the medium walker, the combat walker, the walker titan. It has an artillery thing, and all of these have like a million weapon options, and they're all hard surface, and they are really tough. And so all of this stuff has been essentially throwing a wrench in our plans and slowing everything down. Um, yeah, and so yeah, I'm sorry that things have been delayed, but that's basically what's happening. It's just um, things that usually just flow and go well are just like, oh, we're constantly stop and go. We make something and it just doesn't work, and then we have to go back, and then we thought we had something, and then you pose it and it's like, it doesn't work, and then you just keep going back and forth. And we're trying our best to release things that look good and that they come out on time, but it's tough. It's tough. Okay, so that is the ogres. Then you are also going to get the attack vehicle. The attack vehicle is, well, how can I put it? Better than the APC in terms of combat, worse than the APC in terms of transport. It's not a tank. It's somewhere between an APC and a tank. It's an attack vehicle. It comes with 3 different weapon options. You can see them on the left and, well, actually in the middle, a bit everywhere. The top you can see is the acid launcher. It's basically like a cannon that shoots like a spray of acid. Then you have this crazy like fusion cannon thing, and then you have a dual flamer turret. It comes with different weapons in the front. I think it can come with a plow. It also has an optional little missile launcher, and yeah, lots of different things. That's the attack vehicle. Then you're also going to get the support vehicle. Again, it's crazy the amount of weapon options they have. The support vehicle, I think, also comes with like 5 or 6 options. I think it comes like with like missile barrage, mortars, anti-air guns, a ballistic missile. I'm sure I'm missing something. Mortar, ballistic missile. Oh yeah, artillery cannon. Lots of options. Here you can see a version of it. It's basically like if the attack vehicle is your go forward and destroy vehicle, your support vehicle is your stay back and support vehicle. So it's similar but different. It's less armored, and it has like these like carrier um, bags on the sides where they strap like different ammo to. So here, for instance, you can see the rockets. And yeah, I only have a couple to show, and this is the twin AA cannon, which is to kill aircraft. All right. So that's the HDF preview. Oh my god, I still have so many slides. All right, I'm trying to move fast. Then we can look at Quest. All right, so Age of Fantasy Quest, you are going to get the Plague Demons Shaman. The Shaman is really cool because it comes with a funky little frog um, buddy. Yeah, we thought it was cool, so we made it. It's lovely. For StarQuest, you are going to get the Jackal's Infiltrator. I'm very happy to go back to making a Jackal's models. It's been a long time since we made a Jackal, and I love that Quest and StarQuest allow us to make models for old factions again, and bring them back to life a little bit. So yeah, you're gonna get cool Jackal Infiltrator. Infiltrators are like your rogues. They're your stealthy, lock picky type of dudes. Then, terrain, yeah. You're also going to get new urban terrain. This time you're going to get the ruins. This is, of course, following the new type of terrain that we make. So, lots of different things that you're going to get. Here, you're only seeing parts of it, but basically, this allows you to make buildings. You can cover them. You can have different sections of walls. You have low walls, you have high walls, you have walls with windows, you have walls without, you have walls that are destroyed. Very cool to create like a little city landscape. And honestly, like these are generic urban terrain, so you can use these for you know all sort of sci-fi games. Then, legendary. Okay, so you're also going to get a legendary release, of course, in December, which is the Dwarf Guild's Mining Titan. This is or Mining Walker or Drill Walker, Mining Walker Titan, mining. The name is something like that. This is still not final. I think this is not the final pose. Um, but yeah, again, very cool to come back to an older faction that we haven't seen in a while. So Dwarf Guilds, we've seen them have the big mining vehicle, which had like the big thing, and we were like, okay, like the big excavator. It's called the combat excavator, and we were like, okay, like it's cool that you can go mining with the big drill or thing, and it's like, well, what if you did that but as a walker? And so we came up with this, which is very cool. He has like a backpack filled with crystals, and like he grabs the crystals and puts them in the backpack and stuff like that. Melee focus Titan. Okay, so there's this one. Then you are also going to get loyalty rewards. Yes, there are new loyalty rewards coming in December. So you are going to get fantasy loyalty rewards, of course, themed after the current faction. So you are going to get the Wood Elves Forest Titan. This is a giant mini. Let me put it this way. This is on par with a Saurian Dread Behemoth. This is a massive mini, and yeah, I love how it's coming out. You can see like the cool little terrain base, and then it's basically, well, let's keep going. The Forest Titan is basically like a somewhere between like a forest dragon, wooden dragon, beast type of thing. It's basically like animated treeman dragon made of wood, filled with leaves and stuff like that, little flowers, which I think is very cute. And then of course it has a cool face. We wanted to make sure that the face looked how can I put it? Kind of noble, kind of wise. We didn't want it to just look like a big angry beast. The forest. Oh, I forgot the name now. The hell, I just said it right. The forest. I forget the name. Whatever. Oh man, now I really want to know the name. Hold on, sorry. I need to find out. It will take me just a second. This is the the Forest Ancient. Ah, there we go. It's called the Forest Ancient. Yes, and it makes sense, right? Because it's meant to feel ancient. It's meant to feel wise. It's meant to feel like it's not just like a brute dragon or whatever. Yeah, very cool. So this is one of the two loyalty rewards. The other loyalty reward is going to be this is going to be the HDF Titan Walker, Tactical Titan, I think it's called Tactical Titan Walker, Tactical Titan. Very interesting. Again, speaking about like development of stuff, let's take a look at the mini and then we can talk about it. So you can see this guy is huge. I think it's like 130 to 140 millimeter tall. Huge robot legs, lots of different like clamps and like bolts and stuff like that. Really gives you like a nice sense of scale. Here you can see the legs. Then we can see one of the main guns. Here is like an auto cannon I guess, rifle. This guy actually comes with like lots of different weapons. I think it comes with like an autocannon, a missile launcher, a machine gun, plasma rifle, a flamer. What else does he come with? Something else I'm forgetting. A laser cannon, a laser machine gun, lots of different weapons, and also again to show scale, like it has like all of these like different things, pouches and stuff strapped on, and very cool. And then here we can see the head with the missile pod. So you can see like it has like two different missile pods that come with three different types of missiles, like AA missiles, anti-infantry missiles, and anti-tank missiles. So this is the Titan. It kind of can give you a sense of what to expect from the walkers of the HDF. And yeah, very interesting. Again, it's one of those things where it's like we had this idea in the concept where, if you remember the concept, the original idea was that basically it didn't have a head. It was basically just flat at the top. It just had like a little hatch. And then in the back, it had like a big tank cannon. And when we made that model, it just looked terrible. It just looked bad because it was a Titan without a head. And so what would happen is that your eyes would think that the face of the Titan was where now the core of the rifle is. So it looked like it was this weird monster with its shoulders in its ears and its gun in front of its face. And so we were like, okay, we have to we have to find a way to make it work. Which means we said, okay, let's give it a head because it's gonna feel much better if it has a head. We still wanted to keep the idea that it's a piloted mech. So if you look in the back, you can see that actually the head, it's like a hatch, so you can open it like and then the pilot can go in. So this is a piloted mech. And then once we put the head, also one of the things that we noticed is like we had the cannon on the top of the head, and well, on the one side, it's like it just looked terrible because it was the cannon felt static. So it's like he's gonna have to shift his whole body to shoot, and then it felt like if he's gonna shoot, like he's gonna like recoil back. It just felt terrible. And also, once we added the head, it was like, where does the cannon even go? And so we said, well, why don't we give it like rocket pods? And that's where that's where it started feeling really good. And so we actually updated the rules, and yeah, now we have the Titan, tactical Titan. And yeah, you can expect similar things from the regular walker. So if you look at the old concept art where they don't have a head, even though the concept art works, I guess because it's 2D, it kind of works. This is what you can expect in 3D. All right, now we move on to concept art. Okay, all right. We got it. There's still a bunch of slides, but I think we might be able to finish more or less on time today. All right, so what are you gonna get for the Wood Elves? So number one, next month, or no, this is now for January. In January, we are starting to explore the Grove. So, well, to some extent. So, as you may or may not know, in the first month of the Wood Elves, we were exploring the Glade. The Glade is the part of the Wood Elves which is the more civilized. Let's say they build kind of like forest cities. They have like all these weapons made of like beetle stuff. Then we explored the treemen. So that's what we're seeing now, like the treemen, the treemen giant, the brutes, and all that stuff. And now we're gonna slowly move towards the grove, and the grove is starting to go more towards the the inside the forest, and that's where it's a little bit more wild. But actually, I'm not sure. Maybe I'm going too far ahead. Um, all right, so here we have the deer, the leader on deer. So this is actually a glade unit. Yeah, maybe it's more glade. Ooh, sorry. So here we have the leader on deer, the deer riding leader. This is actually our first riding unit. We actually have different ones. We have the deer riders. We have the lancers, forest lancers, I think they're called. And then we also have the mounted weavers. So these are different riding units. So yeah, here we have a leader on a deer. Looks really nice. Then you're also going to get the army standard bearer. So big army standard with the faction logo on top and like cool like waving in the wind and stuff like that. So you're gonna be able to like paint. It's got like a big empty space in front, so you can paint whatever you want in there. Then you are going to get the Forest Watch. Okay, so this is one of the Grove units. So the Forest Watch, I think this is one of the Grove units. Oh, maybe this is still one of the Glade units. Don't quote me on anything. Anyway, so here we have another unit of archers that are. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm a little bit. You have to understand. I see hundreds of these things every month. So this is not the Forest Watch. No, these are the Guardians. Right? Hold on, checking. Mm-hmm. Yes, these are the Glade Guardians. Yes, nice. So okay, so all right, right. Sorry. So basically, last month you got the forest, sorry, the Glade Scouts, and the Scouts basically have like these shorter bows, and they're kind of like stealthy, and they hide around the trees and stuff like that. Whereas the Glade Guard are your more standard archers. They have long bows, so they hit at 30 inches rather than 24 inches. They're more like a standing infantry unit. They have an actual command group, so they have a musician, a banner, and a sergeant, and they actually have like a bunch of different weapon upgrades in the like arrow upgrades in the rules. So like you can change the which type of arrows they fire, which makes them more unique. So that's kind of like the difference. So the scouts are shorter range, scouty boys. They're gonna run away in a fight, and the forest, sorry, the glade guardians are more, your standard stand there and shoot archers with like these really big bows. Okay, now it all makes sense. All right, so that's Glade. So yeah, you're gonna get a bunch of Glade stuff. So okay, that's Glade again. Then you are going to get the actual Deer Riders. So this is again a Glade unit. So the Deer Riders come with what you expect. They come with like lances and stuff like that. They also have like mounted bows, so they can also become shooty riders, which I think is always very cool. They also come with a command group, so sergeant, musician, banner, and stuff like that. And then finally, you are going to get. Oh no, there's even more stuff. Sorry. So you're also going to get um, the beetle swarms. The beetle swarms are a completely new unit from OPR. This is fully our own thing. And yeah, we thought it would be really cool to add a swarm unit to the army now that we have this whole beetle theme. So we made a unit of little beetle swarms. They look absolutely adorable, but feisty. So they're a little bit more fighty than the usual buddies that you're seeing. A little bit angrier. So this is a cool new unit with the swarm. And then you're also going to get the giant beetle. Okay, woo! This is really cool. This is a fucking completely new OPR unit. So this is, if you want to look for an equivalent, think about it like a Saurian Triceratops, big ass beetle with elves on top firing arrows. You can swap it out, and you can have a big crossbow that like shoots from the beetle, which is that's the good stuff. And then actually also another thing that you have, which you cannot see here, I think it's more on the right in the concept, is instead of a crossbow, you can actually have like this sort of cocoon altar or whatever from which the beetles are spawned. So it can basically spawn beetles, beetle swarms, and throw them around the field. So the giant beetle and the beetle swarms kind of work together. So yeah, it's another month of Glade. This is all the Glade stuff. I think maybe this is finishing all of the Glade stuff. All right, cool stuff. So that is the Wood Elves for January. Now let's take a look at the HDF. So what are you going to get for HDF? So first things first, you're going to get the HDF Sniper Hero. Again, a completely new unit from OPR, for OPR, only in OPR, whatever. And yeah, he's a sniper, but he's a hero. Let me put it that way. He has a cool little tabard. Not tabard, sorry. He has a cool little like cape that's special compared to regular snipers. He has a special sniper rifle with like a bunch of little add-ons. Cool pose. Yeah, a cool sniper. Then you're also going to get another hero with the observer. The observer is he has like a radio backpack and stuff like that. He's like your like fire shot caller, not shot caller, like fire, whatever. He's an observer. He basically like he can point at the enemies and be like those guys, and then like you get bonuses and stuff like that. So he's your sort of like radio man hero. Then you are going to get an actual unit of snipers. So very cool. I actually have seen this model. We've worked. These were some of the first models we worked on for the faction. They look really cool. I really love them. The poses came out really great. They have like these poses on terrain. They look really cool. They have these big capes. Yeah, they look very very cool. I love the snipers from OPR. Then you are also going to get the artillery cannon. The artillery cannon is, well, it's an artillery cannon. It's like a static. It's a static cannon. I feel like I'm just repeating myself. Anyway, it comes with lots of different weapons. It comes with rockets. It comes with mortars. It comes with laser cannon, and it comes with a field cannon. Oh, and it also comes with an AA cannon. Well, anyway, again, one of those units that you're like, oh, it's just one unit, but it's like, yeah, actually, it's 6 or whatever units or 5 units all in one. So it comes with lots of different options, lots of different stuff that you can do, and it also comes with a nice little crew of humans and robots working together, because part of the thing about the factions is that the humans and the robots work together. All right, then what else are you gonna get? The final thing you're gonna get. Oh yeah, here you can actually see the crew at the bottom. So you can see like different variations of heads for the robots, different poses. Yeah, this is gonna be a fun unit. Then you're also going to get the heavy battle tank. So you got the APC, you got the tank, you got the tank, right? Yeah, you got the tank, you got the attack vehicle, you got the support vehicle. Now it's time to bring out the bigger guns. So you're gonna get the heavy battle tank. The heavy battle tank is a even bigger battle tank. It comes with a bunch of different weapon options. It comes with like these big like sponson arrays. So usually you see like sponsons that have like just a single like machine gun, and these guys have like these big arrays with like multiple guns that can shoot from the sides. It has a gun, so it has guns in the sides. It has a gun in the front. It has a main cannon. I think it has two different variations. It has like a main cannon or a cannon that's comes with an auto cannon. And then I think you also have an additional machine gun that you can have on top. I think that's it. Anyway, lots of different guns, lots of different weapon options. It's one of those where like you think about um, you know models and proxies and all that stuff, and you think like we have a tank, like you make a heavy tank, like how much cooler can it be? And I think actually this one is pretty damn cool. All right, then we have. Oh, okay, so that's it for HTF. Sorry, I said that's it, but that's already a bunch of stuff. So that's it for sci-fi. So let's move on to the next thing. Okay, sorry. I usually try not to answer too many questions during the stream. I answer them at the end because right now, like, I'm trying to run through a lot of slides. But I saw somebody ask, "Will there be a robot hero?" No, because the robots from the HTF are not sentient at all. They are full on just robots. They're automated, sure. They can do some things more or less independently, but they are not sentient in any way possible. So they don't have a personality. There are no heroes. All right, let's move on to Quest. So what are you gonna get for Quest in January? You are going to get the Last Demon Sorceress. Sorceress? I think it's the Sorceress. Yes, the Last Demon Sorceress, which I think is a really cool model. And again, so cool to go back to an old faction that we haven't seen in such a long time and bring it back to life. So I really love the little pose and what she gets to do. So nice, cool little Sorceress. Then for StarQuest, you are going to get the oh god, what is it called? This is a dwarf. It's a dwarf sentinel. So it's cool because now, so StarQuest comes with 12 different classes, and I think some of them are like relatively obvious when you think about like, well, what is it going to look like when, what is a StarQuest like infiltrator? Okay, you can kind of imagine it. You can kind of imagine a berserker. You can kind of imagine a psychic or whatever. But then it's like, okay, what does a sentinel look like? Well, then here you can see what a sentinel look like. So sentinels are more lightly armored. Usually they have like two weapons on their wrists. They're kind of like monks. So they're kind of like jumping around, using their body to do cool things. They're not an infiltrator. They're not a berserker. They're somewhere in the middle, kind of like close range fighters. One of their things in the game is actually that they can like willingly take more stress to boost their attacks. So it's like you have a skill, and then it's like, okay, the skill does X, but if you spend 1, 2, 3 extra stress, then it becomes more and more powerful. So they're really about like stress management in terms of rules. So anyway, that's your dwarf sentinel. Okay, then what else are you going to get? Oh my god, what else is there? There's still so many slides left. Okay, you're also going to get terrain. Okay, all right. So January is going to be the last month for the terrain from sorry. January is the last month of the urban terrain, which means you're gonna get the basing bits. So you're gonna get some larger basing bits, which you can see here. So these are like bits that you can use either for like bigger bases, or that you can use actually as part of your terrain to kind of like um, modify it and customize it more. And you're also gonna get small bits that you can actually use to put on bases. So you can see here different types of like bricks and like ropes and cables and whatever. And also little animals. You get like a pigeon, for example, which is a classic urban um, little buddy. You're also going to get urban bases, so generic urban bases. I don't have a picture of it because they're generic urban bases, but you're gonna get generic urban bases which look nice. And people have asked us for generic bases, so we're gonna make generic bases as well. Then that's gonna end the urban terrain in January. So in January we're gonna start. So we're kind of switching between fantasy and sci-fi. So it's gonna end the urban terrain, which was sci-fi, and we're gonna switch to the desert terrain, which is more fantasy. Although we are designing it in such a way that it can totally be used for sci-fi and it will make sense. So don't worry about it being. Really, I think only like the urban terrain and the village terrain are going to be the two that are like really feel like, well, this is definitely sci-fi and that one is definitely fantasy, and that's it. But everything else is usable in either setting. So yeah, the desert terrain, your regular desert stuff, right? Like cool little desert ruins, rocks, sand, dunes. What do we got here? So this is the small terrain. So you have like chest high terrain that you can shoot over. You can have slightly higher terrain that you might be able to peek over. And again, you can see here like different ruins and like different plants and stuff like that, and sand and rocks. And then you have your tall terrain, which basically is like now it fully covers you, and so it's what do you call it? It's blocking terrain, so you cannot see through it. You get lots of variations. You get long ones, you get short ones, you get corner ones, and stuff like that. So with that, you can get a lot of variety on your table. And so for the next 6 months after that, you can expect us to slowly release all of the desert terrain. All right. I think we're getting to the end. So what else? Oh, okay. Ooh, this is the final concept to show you. This is the vampiric undead legendary for January. This is the Butcher Titan. Honestly, a super fun model. The Butcher Titan is basically so the Butcher Titan is actually the reason why we made the Butchers. So originally, when we thought about making a legendary concept for the vampiric undead, we came up with a bunch of different ideas, and one of them was the Butcher Titan. And we said, oh, we cannot make the Butcher Titan because, well, wasn't called the Butcher Titan. It was just called. It had no name. It was just a cool concept. And we're like, we cannot really make this guy because it's like it has no through line with the faction. Like it makes no sense. It's just some huge baby with two heads. And so we ended up doing the big swarm of stitched, which looks amazing. And then we said, okay, no, we want to make this model, so we need the missing link. We need the missing link between a stitched and this Titan. And so we made the Butchers, and we released the Butchers, and people were pretty happy about them. Actually, I've seen some really cool paint jobs for them. And well, that enabled us to finally do the Butcher Titan. So the Butcher Titan is basically a monstrosity of a assembled, stitched thing. It's made of flesh. It has these two big butcher heads. It has a weird amputated arm with a weapon. It has like all of these seams that are opening and like stitched zombies are coming out of them. It's full of detail. It's really cool. I have to say, once again, it's one of those like the when the theme comes together with like epicness, it just really cool. Okay. Woo! All right. That is the final slide for that. Now, for those that know or don't know, usually before the stream, we announce the stream every month, and then when we announce the stream, we give out like a link to a Google survey thing where you can go and post your questions. I am now going to switch there and answer all the questions that were written there. And then I will come back and basically answer any question that was written. That All right. Let's see if this works. I'm gonna come back and answer any questions I can that were posted after now. And yeah, and I'll try to keep it quick because we're already right at the 90-minute mark. All right, so let me see what questions we have here. So, what will be the next armies after the Wood Elves and HDF? We have not revealed it yet, but I think actually we're probably going to be revealing the next sci-fi army very soon. I think next month, at the end of next month, we're going to reveal the next sci-fi army. So, and it's a cool one. So, aircraft transport interaction, another Borg rewording. I saw this. Sorry, when you just write something like this, it tells me nothing. Another Borg rewording. I don't know what the issue is. I don't know what the question is. I don't know what you're trying to get at. So, if you have some balance feedback, there is a whole forum on the Discord where you can post your feedback about the balance of aircraft and transport, and I will answer your questions there. But I don't understand your question, so I don't know to tell you. Will we see some mode like the old Arena one-off game, but using actual quests or normal OPR rules? Using dropped weapons, limited ammunition for ranged weapon events, AI enemies. It would be nice in events. I'm not sure. So the problem with Arena is that it's a game that requires you to have a hex board, and we cannot expect people to have a hex board. And a 3D printed hex board is not that great, and people don't have 2D printers. Blah, blah, blah. It's a mess. It requires physical components, which makes it a mess. Now there is one thing that I've been kind of dreaming of, which is now that we're switching to, or not switching, but like now that we're starting to do more and more physical stuff, would it be possible for us to actually make a physical game like Arena again? And I think it could be cool. I think it would be very cool. Like you've seen the little boxes that we have, that is like the the quick start boxes, King's Wrath and Last Stand, and I think those are really cool. And I can imagine that like Arena could be a very cool like little game in a box where it's like, okay, grab the box. It has whatever it is, 10 minis. It has a little board. It has everything you need to basically start playing the game. And that would be a cool way to have it as a physical thing. The problem is that's a lot of work, and we don't know that that's something enough people want. And right now, we're still at the very, very beginning of like our journey into like the physical realm and being followed by people that want to buy our stuff physically. We know that there is a huge audience that wants to buy our stuff digitally, and we know that there's a huge audience that plays our games with other miniatures, but we still are building the crowd that plays physical games, that plays our games with our physical miniatures and doesn't have a 3D printer. So who knows? Maybe one day that could be a way for Arena to come back, but we need to build that audience first. How the narrative campaigns for Quest Star Quest system will work. Now we are having the Into the Frontier, but there will be switching from Quest to Star Quest. Oh, okay. I think the question is basically like, are we switching between a Quest and the Star Quest campaign? I think it's because of the delay. Sorry, the campaigns were slightly delayed because of many reasons. But no, we are releasing both a Quest narrative campaign and a Star Quest campaign in parallel. So every month on Patreon, you get both Heart of the Rot and Into the Frontier, and those are being released in parallel. And then when we switch to the new campaigns, those are going to be released in parallel, and so on and so forth. So don't worry, they're not going back and forth; they're being released in parallel. Hello, loving the HDF minis. Will recruits receive their own models, or will they use the normal infantry models? Recruits will receive their own models. Will you make bases and trays that can be magnetized? Can we get building with interiors? bases and trays that can be magnetized. I feel like I get this question many times. As far as I know, the bases can be magnetized because they have a little space underneath. Some people say it's not enough space. I'm 100% not sure about this. I'm going to be honest. And we actually have a little bit of a problem. If it turns out that for the specific type of magnets that people use, the bases are not tall enough, we have literally thousands of bases by now. And it's going to be very hard to go back and modify all the bases. Because if we do a modification for one base, if we say, hey, this base is now half a millimeter taller because that's how you can better fit a magnet, that means that we need to update thousands of bases. And maybe one day we have the time and, patience to do it. But it sounds tough. And also think about it like this, like just from a money perspective, such an operation is going to cost. Like having someone go and modify all these bases is going to be a cost. And I don't know that it's going to actually bring a return. So tough. I'm going to be honest. It's tough. Can we get buildings with interiors? We are not planning on making any buildings with interiors per se. We are still going to make these ruined terrains that we make, which have a roof, and you can kind of put them together to form a building, which then can take the roof off and they have an interior. We have the different bits that we're giving, so you can put stuff in the interior, but there is no plans to make, a tavern or something like that. Okay, I have a designer's commentary question for you. I was wondering where there are so few they put the quotes, random effects in the games, for example, D3 damage or D6 attacks, etc. And also, what are your thoughts on negative traits for units like stupidity for trolls, etc.? Not complaining, just interested on your thoughts as a designer. Thank you. So we used to actually have random effects like random D3 damage, D6 damage, or whatever, and we still have randomness in different places, especially in like special missions and like that type of stuff. But we found that the randomness just made the game feel more random, not in a good way. It wasn't randomness that felt rewarding in some way. It was just like, okay, let's say that like all your flamers, instead of having a blast 3, they have a blast D3. Then all it means is that 1/3 of the time you're gonna roll a 1, and then people are like, oh, that sucks. And 1/3 of the time people are gonna roll a 3, and they're gonna be like, thank God that it rolled a 3. But it's not. I feel like it's not an exciting roll. It's not like I'm excited to see what comes out of it. It's more like it's like a dreading roll, and so I don't think it feels very good. And in many ways, like we are designing for feeling, if that makes sense. Like at the end of the day, like the game needs to feel a certain way, and the stuff that you put in the game affects how the game feels. And so to me, that's not the type of roll that felt good, and so I kind of removed it. And also, I felt like it added one more roll to the game. And generally speaking, we are trying to remove rolls from the game. Although that it's one of those things that keeps growing and shrinking. Like we remove a bunch of rolls, then slowly new rolls come in, then we remove rolls. It is what it is. But yeah, we want to remove more rolls from the game. What are your thoughts on negative traits? I am very, very hesitant about them. I have actually been battling with that now when I'm working on the retheming of the factions, because I had some ideas where I was like, well, like I could make this nice and balanced if I had some negative trait, but then I don't know. Again, it's one of those things where it just doesn't feel good. Again, it feels like either it doesn't feel good or it feels like either it feels bad or it's just something that you dread rather than something that feels like, oh, okay, that's nice, that makes sense. Now, of course, there are some negative traits which can work, like slow, it feels thematic and people are like, all right, I get it, this thing is slow, it makes sense. Or limited, it's like, okay, this weapon can only be fired once, it's a one-shot drone, all right, that makes sense. But for instance, I'm very hesitant, even though actually we have this rule in Warfleets, I'm very hesitant, for example, to put a rule like unstable in the game where it's like, okay, when you shoot and you roll to hit and you roll a 1, you take a wound, for example. That's something that I'm not too sure about. I've been thinking about it, but I'm not sure. Yeah. All right. I know you don't tell about the next planned armies until they are next to be released. Yes. So my question is, if you will add some vehicles or soldiers to your already existing armies. We are trying to go back and add things that we missed or that we skipped or whatever to old armies. Recently, we did an update for the Mummified Undead where we added the Herald and we added the we added the Herald, we added the Army Standard Bearer, we added weapon options for the heroes, and also we added buddies. And we plan on doing a couple more of those as time goes on. So yes, we plan on doing that, but it's a slow process. All right, so that was the last question. I'm now going to switch back and I'm going to answer questions going from where I had put a little line to down. And then let's see. All right, so do you plan to do recruits and storm leaders for the HDF? Yes. There's any plan? Are there any plans to add holes to make easier weapon option changes, at least in bigger models? No. For tradition, when will be the volunteers program coming? Soon. Do the robot legions care about the HDF using robots? That's a good question. I am not sure. I am not sure. Mm. You know, it's weird because it's like on the one side, I feel like they should. Like it just seems obvious. Like, yeah, of course they would. But then on the other side, I'm not. I don't think that the robot legion would see the HDF robots as equals because the robots from the HDF are literally just tools, like a gun, a wrench, whatever. But technically, that's also what the robot legions were before they became sentient. So I can imagine them having a more interesting philosophical conversation with an Eternal Dynasty robot, so like an Oni. That makes a lot more sense to me. But I don't think they would care too much for the HDF robots, as in they're too much of a tool. That's my feeling. That's my vibe. Will we be getting models for units that are there in the list but are not currently given models? Things like Psycho Grunts, for instance. We may do those in the future at some point. No plans for Psycho Grunts specifically right now, but at some point it would make sense. Can we get Vinci Automa Brutes hollowed? No plans right now to update those models. I like the army's diversification of September. Will it erase some of the current units or make new ones? What about the models? It will not erase units. It will not. I mean, it might make new ones if we feel like a unit needs to be split for gameplay purposes. So, for instance, we recently did an update to the Orc Marauders where we had split the Orc Walker into like a melee walker, an attack walker, and a shooty walker. I don't remember exact names, but like a melee and a shooty version just for the rules. But the model is the same, so no difference there. So no, it will not erase any units. You will play with all of your models as always. Don't worry about that. If it creates any units, it's because of this. One thing it might create is heroes. So like there are some armies where heroes only have like most armies usually try to have like 4, 5, 6 different hero upgrades where it's like okay, it can be a psychic, but it can be a whatever truth teller, and then it can be also a I don't know, a tomato. I don't know. And then there are some armies which only have like one option or two options, so maybe we're going to add some options there. But no plans to make models for that, and definitely not erasing models. That is a big no. We are not taking away your toys. It's nice to see physical books being released after Vinci book is out. When can we expect it on Etsy? I don't know. What do the Battle Brothers do outside of combat? Do they have an empire with settled worlds and civilians? If so, is it unified? Or do different detachments run their own independent fiefdoms? So I don't want to go too deep because there's a world book and whatever, but basically, yeah, the Battle Brothers, they have so the whole region of the Battle Brothers is called the Protectorates, and that's actually a region that's just like the human area, the human sector. No, sorry, what's it called? The human cluster from the HDF, well, the humans and therefore the HDF, so the Great Human Alliance. is just a place where, yeah, there is an army, but people live. It's the same thing for the region, the protectorates where the Battle Brothers are. Now, the Battle Brothers are much more militaristic and much more severe, and it's much more like martial law kind of thing. But there's lots of people living in the protectorates, and like the whole goal of the founder was to basically bring humanity forward. It was not at all like it's not like they're only made for war and there's only battle brothers there and so on and so forth. Do the different detachments run their own independent fiefdoms? The different detachments in OPR lore, detachments are more like trying to abstract it. They're more like special units made to fight on specific types of conditions. So there are those that are more specific for fighting on desert planets and destroyed planets. There are those that are more for like covert ops and stuff like that. There are those that are more for Arctic planets and stuff like that. So they are not um, they're not like empires within the empire or something like that. Although it's not an empire per se, but they're not like a um, they're military distinction. They're not a faction distinction, if that makes sense. By the way, I should throw this out there because I've spoken about it a bit more on the Discord, but I'll throw it out there in general. We are actually planning on doing some lore reworks sometime, maybe at the end of next year or maybe after. We definitely want to change a bunch of stuff, and the whole way that the Battle Brothers work and the the founder and all that stuff. It's something we are taking a close look at, and we're very likely to very heavily change. So yeah, don't get too attached to the founder. Let me put it that way. Yeah, we basically want to make sure that our lore keeps evolving and that it changes in a way that it can become more and more unique to us. Actually, one of the things that we are considering, and I've been talking about for a long time, is to change the names of the factions. We still want to keep them something recognizable. What we want to make sure that the factions have a more, more unique and more lore appropriate name. I think right now part of the reason why a lot of people think, oh, OPR is just very generic is because the armies sound very generic. When you have an army called humans fighting an army called goblins, it's like, it feels very generic. That's not, yeah. Any chance of letting us mix StarQuest and Fantasy Quest in the app? There are no plans for that right now. I suppose it is technically feasible, but there are no plans for that right now. That being said, you can kind of do it without using the app. Using the app, but not using. So imagine, like for instance, you could create your heroes. Well, first off, don't forget you can play in pen and paper, so you don't have to use the app. But you can make your heroes, for example, for both Quest and Star Quest, and then when you go and you start a mission, instead of having it auto generate waves, you can select the point size, yeah, whatever, the amount of points that your heroes are for the next wave or whatever, and so that will basically allow it to be like, okay, so my heroes are in Star Quest, but I'm fighting a quest, a fantasy quest villain, army, whatever, then you can create that enemy group in Quest. You can start the mission, and then you just say, okay, this is the total point value of all of my characters from StarQuest, and now I go in there and I just, set the total point value, and it will generate waves according to that. That being said, where it gets complicated is like Quest and StarQuest use different names for different for different classes, for different scales, for different items and stuff like that. So it gets weird. It gets weird. Uh, do you have an estimate as to when we will have models for every army? 2035. 2035. How are you willing to acknowledge translation of different communities? Is it a thing? How are you willing to acknowledge translation of different communities? Sorry, I don't understand the question. There are on Discord. There is a part where there's fan translations. If you're looking for fan translations, you can go there. You can play with fan translations. They are not official translations. We don't go through them to verify because we don't speak all the languages. So use at your own peril. Mm, 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 mm. With Da Vinci book dropping soon, would it be safe to assume a sci-fi faction book would be next? Yes, there will be a sci-fi faction book next. We already announced that it will be for the Eternal Dynasty, and it will be at some point in 2025. What of the axolotls? They stay, they stay in our hearts. Well, you got a picture of one in the StarQuest cover, so Uh, does it mean changes to the world books, like a 1B2? Actually, it might be a full-on second edition of the world book. So, sorry, the question was, I guess it's because I said like, hey, we're thinking about changing the lore of like the founder and stuff like that, and then somebody asked basically like, does this mean that you're going to also change the world book? To like a version 1.2. If anything, it might be a full-on second edition of the world book. One thing that we've learned from the massive feedback that we got on Grimdark and Fantasy, although actually on Fantasy we got less feedback than on Grimdark, even though the same amount of people are buying it, we're having a lot less reviews and a lot less feedback about it. I'm not sure why. Um, but there's still a bunch of people buying it. So I don't know. If you bought the Fantasy World Book, if you're one of the many people that buys the Fantasy World Book every month, please leave a review. Click the little stars, write what you think. Like, let us know. It's very weird that we've sold so many copies and there's literally like one review, I think. So anyway, doesn't mean changes to the world books. So one of the things that we learned is that we had a certain idea of what we wanted out of the world book, and we understand that that is not what the fans are looking for from a world book. There is a lot of interesting stuff in there and a lot of good content, but what people want to find out is different than what the world book currently offers. So, if anything, we would like to do a second edition of the world books, which is completely restructured, which focuses much more on, so yes, it focuses on the history of the Sirius sector, like the origins of the Sirius sector, let's say, and the history of the Sirius sector, and where the factions were and are and what happened. That focuses less on just like what happens to humanity. It's like I think the current book has the basically the first 10 pages are kind of like introducing humanity to the setting. And people were like, "Yeah, this is cool," but like I didn't want to just know about humanity. I want to know about the Sirius sector and everybody that's involved. Like this is not a story just about humans, which makes sense. So we want to focus on that as a whole. We want to focus a bit more on the locations of the Sirius sector and stuff like that, and a little bit on like how do things like travel work and stuff like that. But most of the fucking bulk that people are interested in is factions. People want to know a lot more about factions. So the idea would be that the bulk of the book would be about all the different factions, what do they do, where are they, all the cool stuff that you can know about factions. um, and then maybe towards the end of the book talk a little bit more about society and inner sphere, outer sphere, frontier, and keep that brief because right now we focus on showing the general vibe of this entire universe. And basically, what we understand is that our audience is right now looking more for like, okay, but I'm playing with these factions in the Sirius sector. I want to know more about the Sirius sector. I want to know more about the factions. I want to know more about this thing rather than the setting as a whole, which makes a lot of sense. For us, knowing the whole setting, we know that there are so many interesting stories happening everywhere that the Sirius sector is great, but it's just one part of it. So for us, of course, we want to focus on everything. But for other people, it's like, no, I want to know about the Sirius sector. I want to know what I'm fighting over and why I'm fighting and what could the possible things be. So yeah. So if anything, it would be a second edition. Will Da Vinci named heroes be unique units in the army builder? Yes. Will we ever see aircrafts from OPR? Eventually, yes. Does fantasy susceptible to changes? Does fantasy susceptible to changes? We are not looking at changing the lore of fantasy like we are looking at changing the lore of Grimdark, but we would change the format as well. Wouldn't it be simpler to do a second tome that completes the first book instead of replacing it? Um, Maybe. I'm not sure, because I think the problem is um, it's one of those things where it's like you don't want to confuse the audience too much. And so if it's like, hey, go grab World Book 1, and then there's also World Book 2, and then somebody's like, oh, I read World Book 1, it's not at all what I was looking for. And then they're like, oh, but go grab World Book 2, and they're like, why wasn't this World Book 1? And then maybe somebody only finds World Book 2 and thinks that's not and then somebody's like, why are there two World Books? Which one is the better? It gets confusing. I feel like the whole point of the World Book was like, here is this one thing you can get that tells you like the whole overall thing. That's like, it's the primer for the whole setting. So splitting into two books, I don't know. That being said, I'm also not super happy about the idea of replacing the books, a year and a half after we first released them. So I'm also a little bit hesitant about that. But that being said, like the books were cool, people enjoyed them. You get to keep them, so we're not taking something away for you per se. Can we do a living campaign, one where people send in their battle reports and depending what happens, make lore based on it? It's something we've thought about. It's something we've definitely discussed. It's a possibility. Let me put it out there. It's a possibility. We are not currently planning on doing it, but it could be cool. It could be interesting. I feel like it's one of those things where it's a little bit. First off, people don't know enough about the lore, but that's okay. But it's more about, okay, you can make it about a very specific small conflict that's on the edge of the story without it affecting the main story too much. But then people are like, well, what's the point? Then what did we influence? We influenced, yeah, sure. There is some planet out there that players destroyed. Great, who cares? I think it's fun, but they might be like, who cares? It needs to be something big. But then at the same time, it's like we are still at the foundational part of the lore. We're still creating the lore for people. Like, people still don't even know that there is lore. And so being like, hey, come here and substantially change the core of the lore also feels wrong. So if we want to do it, it's about finding that balance between like what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. And also, like, how do you do it? How do you verify the things? How do you verify the games? How does it make sense? I don't know, big thing. I'm impressed by how well you use different stories to create the campaign heroes, such as how you use Pinocchio. Will we see other such heroes? Will we see something like Percival or Shootin'? You may or may not see heroes inspired by other things. Generally speaking, let me put it like this: Geppetto is very much on the nose, if you know what I mean. But we thought it was fun and a bit tongue in cheek, and I thought it was cool to have that character. But generally speaking, we want to try and keep those references a little bit toned down. I think I have seen too many games where every other character is just like, oh, it's Jules from Pulp Fiction. Oh, it's Rick from Walking Dead. Oh, it's this character that everybody knows. It's Deadpool. And it's like, I don't want to just bring other characters into our lore. Geppetto, like I said, it's a fun nod at like an old tale, but yeah, I want to be careful with it. Whew, all right. Okay, thank you, everyone. I see that we came out of the questions. We are 2 hours into it. Not as bad as I thought. I was afraid it was going to be like 2.5 hours. So we did manage. Make sure to go, if you're a digital person, go check out the digital sale, 50% off or 70% off as a patron until the 3rd of December. If you like physical stuff, go check out our Etsy, etsy.com/onepagerules, and grab the physical bundles. The gamer bundle is great if you want to get started with both. Ultimate bundle is great if you want to get everything. You can look forward to the Duchies of Vinci faction book coming out soon. What else? Go grab Out of the Shadows. It's available now. Into the Frontiers and Heart of the Rot are currently available on Patreon. The StarQuest characters are going to be released. Lots of stuff coming. I think the next one will be somewhere at the end of December. Not sure exactly when. So usually I try to do it at the very end of December. Maybe I'll make it like the week, because this Christmas is a bit crazy. I might be traveling on the last Thursday of December. So I will either do it on like Monday the 30th, although it's not a great date, or maybe I'll do it sooner on Thursday the 19th. I'm sorry. We'll announce at some point when the exact date will be. I'm not sure, because either it would be on the 19th of December, but that feels too soon. It's in 3 weeks, or it will be on the 2nd of January. But somehow having the stream on the 2nd of January doesn't feel like there's something cool about having a stream on like the very end of December. So right now I'm gonna say 30th of December, the day before New Year's, we will have the last stream. It's going to be a cool stream. We're going to take a look at the past. We're going to take a look at the future. And we are going to try and live in the present. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Bye bye.